The great thing about being a fan of a sports team is, well, if they're not good this year, they can always get better in the next year, or the year after that, or maybe the year after that.
Are the Falcons worthy of being in last place when it comes to their roster?
No question. They're deserving, unfortunately, to be dead last.
For any NFL GM, the main priority is to build a sustainable Super Bowl contender. So today, here are 5 NFL teams who are facing very dark futures, and 5 with the brightest. Dark Atlanta Falcons. We hate to be blunt, but in all honesty, no NFL team is in a worse position, short-term and long-term, than the Falcons. Too many mistakes were made after their Super Bowl 51 collapse. Arthur Blank waited 2 years too long to make changes. Matt Ryan should have been traded earlier when his value was higher, but instead they waited and were forced to move on for him for pennies on the dollar after striking out in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. Bad contracts and mediocre drafting also contributed to the Falcons' demise, and now they're caught in no man's land. AJ Terrell, Kyle Pitts, and Drake London are nice young cornerstone pieces to build around, but there's not much else after that.
What does the future hold for Duff? Let's just say we've got a few ideas up our sleeve.
Like what?
All right, we don't have any ideas for the future. We got nothing.
How many productive years do Jake Matthews and Grady Jarrett really have left? Even if the Falcons win the CJ Stroud or Bryce Young sweepstakes in 2023, the roster building doesn't end there. The defense is a mess, the offensive line is a bottom-tier unit, and the backfield isn't really keeping defensive coordinators up at night. And if the Falcons somehow don't come away with one of the prized QB prospects in the 2023 draft, and if Desmond Ridder isn't the answer, then well, yikes. This could be a very long decade for Falcons fans. Bright Buffalo Bills. If there is one team that is in the best position to compete for multiple Super Bowls over the next decade, it's the team in Orchard Park. The Bills check off every single box you'll want in a contender. A top-tier general manager, a great head coach, and a young phenom quarterback just entering his prime. Oh, but it doesn't end there. The Bills just so happen to field a near-flawless offense as well as the league's best defense of 2021. Von Miller may be in his mid-30s, but the two-time Super Bowl champ has shown no signs of slowing down. Even if he does, their elite secondary, led by Tre'Davious White, Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, and Kyer Elam, will take care of business. And I think Ed Oliver and Gregory Rousseau are just entering their prime years too. Yeah, these Bills are ready to rock today, tomorrow, and over the next 10 years. Dark Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Whoa, hold it, Bucs fans. We know you're a legitimate championship contender as long as Tom Brady is in the fold. But this list is focused on the future and not the present. When Brady retires, who's your quarterback? Remember how mediocre this team was before the GOAT arrived in 2020? It already feels like 2022 will likely be Brady's last season in Tampa. That means the window is closing pretty quickly for the Bucs. But Brady aside, there are a lot of other factors as well. Other key cornerstone players like Levante David, Ryan Jensen, Mike Evans, Donovan Smith, and Shaq Barrett aren't exactly getting younger. This team doesn't have a good long-term cap situation, and with Brady still around, they're not exactly in a position to draft an elite quarterback prospect in 2023. The New Orleans Saints and Carolina Panthers have plenty of young building blocks and should overtake the Bucs in the NFC South once Brady leaves. So, enjoy Brady while you have him, Tampa, because a dark post-Brady era is not far away. Bright Cincinnati Bengals. It's amazing how just a couple of guys can turn a franchise into a juggernaut after years of misery. Joe Burrow was drafted first overall in 2020 following a historic season at LSU. Unfortunately, his rookie season was cut short after he suffered a torn ACL and MCL in his left knee. But the next time Burrow took the field, everything in Cincy had changed. The Bengals used the number 5 pick of the 2021 draft on Burrow's old college pal, Jamar Chase. And the rest, as they say, is history. Burrow, Chase, Joe Mixon, Tyler Boyd, and T. Higgins formed one of the NFL's most prolific offenses of 2021. And Lou Anarumo's defense made an unexpected leap into elite territory. That all culminated with a trip to Super Bowl 56 in which the Bengals narrowly fell to the Los Angeles Rams. A heartbreaker, sure, but it can also be a very valuable learning lesson for this group. This Bengals offense will be a top 5 group for years to come, plain and simple. The atrocious O-line should no longer be a weak link now that they have Alex Kappa, Ted Karras, and Lael Collins. But make no mistake, it starts with the Burrow-Chase connection. Gotta think it's only a matter of time until they bring Cincy their first Super Bowl. Dark Tennessee Titans. On one hand, Titans fans are probably enjoying the fact that their team is actually relevant again. Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, Mike Vrabel, and John Robinson have turned a long-term losing franchise into an annual playoff team. On the other hand, you become so attached to a winning team that you just hope it never ends. But we do have bad news for the Tennessee faithful. Dark days are not far away for the team in the Music City. Tannehill is in his mid-30s and looks to be on the decline. Though Henry is the NFL's best running back by a country mile, you have to wonder how much he actually has left. We are unfortunately in an era where running backs are finished by the time they're 30. Trading away A.J. Brown was a baffling decision, to say the very least. I mean, you just don't trade away a franchise star entering his prime like that. Taylor Lewan and Kevin Byard aren't getting any younger either. And just look at all the star quarterbacks in the AFC right now. Newsflash, Ryan Tannehill and even Malik Willis are not on those guys' level. And once Henry does decline, which could come any day really, that offense will become one of the most inept units in the NFL. Bright, Detroit Lions. It may feel weird putting one of the NFL's saddest franchises on this list, but it shouldn't be hard to understand why they are here. Dare we say that the Lions are following the right blueprint to become an NFC heavyweight for once in their history? You see, sometimes tanking is necessary in sports. Rather than try to squeeze out 7 to 9 wins a season with Matthew Stafford, the Lions rightfully gave him a chance to contend elsewhere. And that put the scorched earth rebuild into motion. Lo and behold, look at the young franchise cornerstones in place. Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown, TJ Hawkinson, Aiden Hutchinson, Jeffrey Okudah, and Jamison Williams. It's impossible not to be excited about that young group. And we haven't even mentioned Frank Ragnow and Taylor Decker, who alongside Sewell will continue to anchor a top-tier offensive line. So even if Jared Goff isn't the long-term answer, Detroit's next quarterback will be in a great position to succeed. Dark Minnesota Vikings. Sticking in the NFC North, it's very hard to be excited about much of anything if you're a Vikings fan right now. They're in the worst possible position, good enough to make the playoffs, but not good enough to go on a Super Bowl run. But also not bad enough to contend for a franchise-changing top 5 draft selection. But such is life when you continuously extend Kirk Cousins. He's a good quarterback, but not a great one. Listen. We loved the hiring of Kevin O'Connell as head coach. Yes, this mini offense could be a top 5 unit with O'Connell calling the shots over Mike Zimmer. But the offensive line is still a work in progress, and the defense, especially the secondary, is basically in shambles. Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook are great pieces to build your franchise around, but Cousins, Adam Thielen, Eric Kendricks, and Harrison Smith are getting up there in age. The Vikings are making the same mistake as the Falcons, pushing back the inevitable rebuild for nothing more than a possible wildcard berth and maybe one playoff victory, at the absolute most. Bright, Baltimore Ravens. When you have a quarterback who won an MVP in his age 22 season just 3 years ago, you should feel very good about your team's future. Fortunately for Lamar Jackson, the Ravens haven't failed in building a powerhouse around him. When Jackson is healthy and on the field, the Ravens are a Super Bowl threat. When Jackson isn't on the field, it's another story, as we saw down the final stretch of 2021. But now that the Ravens are healthy, you can expect them to return to elite status in 2022. Jackson, J.K. Dobbins, and Gus Edwards are back to lead the NFL's best rushing group. Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters are back to lock down opposing receivers, and they'll be accompanied by free agent pickup Marcus Williams and rookie phenom Kyle Hamilton in the league's most dangerous secondary. The O-line was beefed up with the Tyler Linderbaum selection. Rashad Bateman and superstar tight end Mark Andrews give Jackson 2 dynamic pass catchers to work around. Patrick Queen, Odafe Oweh, Calais Campbell, and Justin Houston round out a stellar front 7 too. Most of Baltimore's key players are really just entering their prime years. With an explosive rushing game, a stingy defense, and a perennial MVP candidate under center, this team is in a great position to compete for multiple championships over the long run. Dark Chicago Bears. It is very difficult to comprehend what the Bears are doing, to be honest. They held on to the duo of Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy for way too long. They let Allen Robinson walk for nothing in free agency. And they did practically nothing to fix their pass protection or receiving group for second-year quarterback Justin Fields. The Bears can usually stay in games with a stingy defense, but that's not going to happen with Khalil Mack long gone. The young talent on this roster is minimal. Even if Fields is the answer at QB, how can he turn this team around with such a weak supporting cast? The Bears are way behind all three of their NFC North rivals, both in terms of their current and future outlook. Bright Philadelphia Eagles. Nice time to be a Philly sports fan. You're just a few years removed from a Super Bowl championship, and suddenly your long-term future is incredibly bright again. After a very surprise return to the postseason in 2021, GM Howie Roseman wasted no time in upgrading the roster. This already stellar defense added Hassan Reddick and James Bradbury in free agency. Roseman crushed it at the draft by landing run-stopping machine Jordan Davis and linebacker Nakobe Dean in the early rounds. But Roseman's best offseason move by far was acquiring star wideout A.J. Brown from the Titans. Jalen Hurts should take off in year 3 with Brown and Devontae Smith as his go-to pass catchers. The Eagles have the ideal mix of youth and veteran playmakers on their roster right now. Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Darius Slay, Lane Johnson, and Jason Kelsey are all proven winners. They're going to help build the bridge to the next wave of Eagles stars. It is, without a doubt, the perfect situation to be in. Throw in the weak state of the NFC East, and it all points to a promising future in Philadelphia. Lombardi Trophy number 2 doesn't appear to be so far away after all. But which NFL team do you think has the darkest future? And which one do you think has the brightest? Join us in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.